Methasplastic. Here's what we used to fight against, was ephedrine. And this is what used to be available throughout the United States, was bottles of it at every gas station and truck stop and stop and rob. Anywhere from 60 to 200 tablets at a time, mostly 60 milligram strength. The meth cooks were so lazy they wouldn't even take time to take the tops off the bottles, because then you had to get the cotton ball and the seal out of the way. They'd just take a roto tool and cut the bottom out of the bottle and drop the pills. Now we just deal with every known decongestant that contains pseudoephedrine.
How many types of those are there?
About 15 left in the United States, name brand, at the current time. In fact, I got a sheet over there with the 15 on it. But there are some off-brands, obviously. But there are only 15 name brands left out there. What we need, once we have our pills, is we need a coffee grinder, a spice grinder, coffee bean grinder. Most time when you look inside one of those, they're dark black or brown. And what this is it's been used to crush pills, so it's got a pink coating, which means it's been used to crush 30 milligram pills. If it had a white coating, they'd be 60s or 120s. If it had a green coating, they'd be 120s or 240s. Once we get the pills all crushed up the way we want them, we'll use a mason jar and some Coleman fluid. And we'll take that powder and put it in a jar. Now, depending on how many pills we've actually got, will determine the size of the mason jar we need. We've got quart jars here, but we've seen them use as much as 2-gallon pickle jars. And what we're doing is we're just removing the pseudoephedrine from the tablet. Because the raw pseudoephedrine is one oxygen atom different than methamphetamine. And so from there, once we've got the pseudoephedrine out, we're going to mix that with anhydrous ammonia, which we'll steal from a farm co-op or we'll manufacture on our own. And we're going to put that with some lithium metal, which we will derive from lithium batteries, which are either Duracell camera batteries or the favorites of all meth cooks, Energizer AA lithium photo batteries. If I had a penny for every Energizer battery, they start out red and they go into silver now. If I had a penny for every battery I found, I could retire. What we normally find at the scenes are these empty blister packs, where they've popped out all the pills. We take the lithium out of here, which is very dangerous. It's a water-reactive metal. And we're going to need some ether, which is 90% of starting fluid is ether. Our 3 favorite brands. And we're going to put that solid that we have down that ether, and then we're going to have to introduce hydrogen chloride gas. And usually we'll do that with an apparatus like this. It's just a gas can with a clearing tubing. We will use some sulfuric acid and some common salt. Mix those together in there. They'll react and form hydrogen chloride gas. And we will bubble that gas through the ether in another mason jar. And we will precipitate out methamphetamine hydrochloride, which is the drug that we want. And pour that through a coffee filter and trap it, and we have made D-methamphetamine hydrochloride. Now over here with the pill dilution, we can also use heat gas line antifreeze, we can use isopropyl alcohol, we can use any number of about 300 different combustible solvents. And if we can't get sulfuric acid, then we can also use muriatic acid, which necessitates the need for some aluminum foil as the catalyst. And if we're cooking a big enough batch and the coffee filter's not good enough, then we'll use a shop vac filter to catch it. There's also seen vacuum bags used, you name it. So it all depends on the size of the cup. We've also seen just a handful in this area of red P labs, where instead of using the lithium metal and the anhydrous ammonia, they'll use red phosphorus, which is derived from the striker plates on matchbooks. And they'll buy those matchbooks by the 500, and then using acetone, which is fingernail polish remover, they'll remove that red phosphorus from those striker plates until they get enough to mix with iodine and the pseudoephedrine to convert it that direction. That process takes a little longer. You have to have a little bit more knowledge, and there's a little bit more chemistry involved, and it doesn't make as pure D-methamphetamine as the anhydrous method. Basically, if you've got a couple of brain cells still snapping and know your own name, you can make meth through the anhydrous method pretty quick. I think I used to say that a 4-ounce cook would cost only about $500 total.
Wow.
And an ounce sells for $1,200 to $1,400. So you can convert $500 safely into $4,800, maybe $5,000. So 10 times your profit.
No. Once you have all this stuff, how long does it take to actually make it?
If you had everything ready to go, you had the anhydrous, you didn't have to make it, you had everything ready to go, good cook start to finish is just under a couple hours. Wow. And that's with some drying time. And if you add, the problem is they get impatient. They start adding heat to the process in different areas. They boil off the Coleman fuel, and rather than let it evaporate, they use heat guns to dry out the meth quicker. Then things start to go haywire because we're introducing flames and heat sources into an area where we've got combustible solvents and fumes and everything else under the sun. And then on top of all of that, we've done a lot to lock down anhydrous ammonia tanks around the state. And now the problem becomes making their own anhydrous. Mm-hmm. And that's become a real serious problem, and that has probably caused as many, if not more, fires and explosions in the actual process of making meth itself. Mm-hmm. That's where we're seeing the really violent explosions, leveling houses, twisting houses off of frames, and that sort of a thing. And in the first part, where we're dealing with the Coleman fuel and impatience, and people that just, aren't exceptionally brilliant. This last fire, we're fairly positive that somebody walked into the room with a lit cigarette, into a room that was highly energized with Coleman fuel vapors, and when he opened the door, he introduced the right amount of oxygen into the mix in a lit cigarette, and that caused a problem.